On the agenda tonight, we're going to be having a listen to BTS, and they're going to be singing Dynamite and Save Me. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So this was requested, as all the videos are, and I'm not sure whether this request was a bit tongue-in-cheek or not. It's actually a video that I was linked to quite a while ago from Carla, who you'll know from the live streams, and she was asking me if this was live, and just having a quick listen to it back then, probably about a year ago, I said that it wasn't live because it sounded really processed, but I didn't do any analysis of it in depth. So we're going to be taking a look at this live performance from Tiny Desk Home Concert is what it's labelled as, and let me just scroll down to the channel because it's NPR Music that are hosting this video. I'll link in the description below if you guys want to click on that and watch it. So we're going to be taking the audio and the isolated vocals from this performance. I don't know a lot about BTS. I haven't listened to a lot of their stuff. I heard recently that they've done something with Coldplay and saw that on TV, but I'm not up with their music, so I'm not really up to speed whether they openly use auto-tune and that's just their thing, and that's why the live performances sound the way that they do. So we'll have a look at Dynamite first, and I'm sure you guys already know what we're about to see on the screen. But interestingly, they do say in this performance that it's their first time performing with a live band, and there's 4 of them in the band, but there's obviously more than 4 instruments going on. So just for a reference point, if you do watch the video, it is a backing track. I'm sure that the musicians are in the mix somewhere, but there's loads of voices in the background, and by the way, there's 7 of them in this particular group. And I'm not really sure whether they're a band, if they play instruments or not, but they're just singing in this. But with the band, yeah, they're not playing everything that we're hearing because there are backing vocals that aren't being sung by the guys when they're singing. So anyway, let's jump into it.
Hey. 'Cause I'm in the stars tonight, so watch me bring the fire, set the night light. JK! Hey! Shoes on, get up in the morning, cup of milk, let's rock and roll. Woo-hoo! Kick on, kick the drum, rolling on like a rolling stone. Sing song when I'm walking up, jump up to the top, LeBron. Hey! Ding dong, call me on my phone, nice day, and I get my ping pong. Hey!
So I'm just going to jump in there to explain what's going on. As we can see here, we are auto-tuned, and it's a really heavy application of auto-tune. So, and I wouldn't even say this is pitch corrected, it's just being snapped to notes. Now, where this is interesting is that I don't think that it sounded like this when they performed it live in that room, and that they have post-produced it, post-processed it before then releasing it so that we now get the auto-tune. And the reason that I say that is because they're only applying the auto-tune to the sung phrases, and you can hear all of the whoa, yeah, where they're not using auto-tune because it would try and just snap those to notes, but it's not doing that. It's only where the vocal comes in. But if you're trying to do it live, then you've got to take your hat off to the sound guys that are in charge of this, because it means that they are engaging and turning off the auto-tune in exactly the right places. Obviously, if it is something they're doing live, they have rehearsed it to make sure that they all know where each vocal line comes in, and they flick it on. It's like a pedal when people use it live. I don't myself, but it's like a guitar effects pedal. You can just switch it on and switch it off. So they'll be waiting for the vocal to come in, switch it on, they'll deliver the vocal, and like in this phrase here, you can hear the auto-tune, and let me take it back, and at what point it then gets turned off if they are doing it live in order to get that dissension and that throwaway.
Ding dong, call me on my phone, nice day, and I get my ping pong.
And that little line at the end, I got my ping pong, or whatever he's saying, maybe he's a table tennis enthusiast, or I do not know. When we're looking at these waveforms, obviously we are snapped to the line. So I thought maybe with this first song, it was something that they just did on this one song and then would go to singing without any auto-tune. But then on the song afterwards, it's exactly the same. Before we jump into Save Me, we'll have a little bit more of a listen to this, but you'll see that common trend just being snapped to lines here. We're taking it to the end of the song now.
Hey! Shining through the city with a little focus up.
Oh, and that is the end of the song. So from the waveforms, we can see how we are just being snapped to the lines every single time whenever there's a note that's being held for a millisecond or longer. And to mention about the last video that I did on Karen Carpenter, where she was really accurate vocal-wise and pitch-wise, but just vocal-wise in general, with everything that she did. These are different universes that we're talking about, because this is a computer program that is tuning the voice to a pitch. Whereas Karen Carpenter was performing really accurately pitch-wise with no help from anything. There's just a tiny bit of reverb on the mic, but it was all her natural voice. But it didn't look like this. She was really accurate, but I always say in the videos, the waveforms don't lie, because when you're watching a natural vocal, and with Karen, she wasn't doing this on the line, on the line, on the line, on the line, all the time on the line. She'd be slightly flat, slightly sharp, and that is the difference between auto-tune and hearing a great voice, is that even a great voice like Karen Carpenter is accurate, really accurate to the ear, but when we're looking at waveforms and looking at 440 Hz tuning, she's never going to be on the lines throughout the whole song all the time. So let's jump into Save Me, have a quick listen to this.
Let's go.
난 숨쉬고 싶어 이 밤이 싫어 이젠 깨고 싶어 꿈속이 싫어 내 안에 갇혀서 난 죽어있어 Don't wanna be lonely Just wanna be yours 왜 이리 깔끔한 건지 네가 없는 이곳은 위험하잖아 망가진 내 모습 구해줘 날 나도 날 잡을 수 없어 내 심장 소리 들어봐.
Anyway, I'm just going to stop it there because you can see still auto-tune is being heavily used here. And just to take it back a little bit, I mean, we can see that we're snapping to lines. This was interesting because it's such a great indication of auto-tune, the way that we're on the lines and we're not staying on one note. We're jumping up all the time to the same note and it's being snapped to that as well. And this little part here where the vocal drops all the way down to the G-sharp 3, spot on the line with that drop is just ridiculous to be that accurate. So like I said, I'm not really up to speed with BTS, so it might be common knowledge that they're using auto-tune and that's just what it is and people like that sound, and that's absolutely fine. I think the problem for most people is if they're using auto-tune, but then they're saying like this, that it's a live performance and they're with a band, and everyone doesn't know that their voices aren't the voices that we're hearing. That's why I said it'd be great to hear the vocal in the room, because I'm sure that this is post-processed and not being done live, because it'd be too complicated to do live. But maybe with common technology, they've figured out a way and they've literally got 7 guys. If there's 7 guys in the band, they might have 7 sound guys who are just switching it on, switching it off in order to get this sound live. Just when I'm mentioning about playing live, back in the day, that used to be the great leveler, because whatever you did in the studio, you could do multiple takes on your vocal if you needed it. But then when you're performing live, you only get one shot at it and you're in front of everybody so they can see just how accurate or not accurate you are with your vocal. And now, with auto-tune being used live and being used in the studio, it means that you're effectively taking all of the equipment, which you couldn't do back in the day. You couldn't bring a studio to the side of the stage with you, but effectively that's now what you can do. So you're bringing auto-tune from the studio to the side of the live stage, so therefore you're sounding exactly like the studio version of the song because you're using the same plugin, the same effect. The same sound is going to be reproduced 100%, regardless whether your actual vocal, your singing voice, is slightly flat or sharp. It'll always get to that note because that's what auto-tune does. So you'll be 100% consistent. So you can see the argument for using it live, because you're never going to mess up. Even if you are messing up and you're missing notes and you're really flat, really sharp, your voice is automatically going to go through the same effect. Because you're relying on something that isn't your own voice, you're relying on effectively a machine that's doing it for you. It's like going to an Elton John concert and people saying, wow, that piano sounds exactly like a piano. And nobody's ever said that, because everybody knows that a piano is going to sound like a piano because it's a piano. So if you're using a particular effect that's going to right all the wrongs of a vocal, that effect is always going to sound the same. And if you use the same effect live, it's going to sound the same live as in the studio, because that's its job. That's what it does. I think on the video that I was watching, there's either 3 or 4 songs, and I did have a look through all of it, and all of the songs are auto-tuned, and it might be common knowledge. What I do want to draw your attention to is the fact that with these vocals, we are starting to get really close to TalkBox territory. I'm actually going to use an example of Lorenz Road, who has done a song on YouTube. I'm just taking a little section of it to give you guys an example of using a TalkBox but through a keyboard, because you can use it on a keyboard, a guitar. It's exactly the same thing. You have a tube in your mouth, it plays whatever you're playing into your mouth, and then you use your mouth to make the words. So the reason that I mention this is how close we're getting to it, and if the audience would have a problem with somebody not even singing, not even using their vocal cords, but just pretending to say words, just shaping, like if I said, hello, my name is Phil, that's what TalkBox is. You just move your mouth to say the words. You don't engage anything. So would people be happy listening to somebody using TalkBox live where they're using a keyboard? And I'm going to go even deeper than this after I've shown you this example. So we'll have a little listen to BTS first.
Sing song when I'm walking off, jump off to the top, LeBron.
So just that little segment there. And now I'm going to bring in Lorenz with TalkBox, where he's not singing at all. This is being played on a keyboard.
You make the lyrics with your mouth.
I'm going to stop it there. And he said, you make the lyrics with your mouth. This is actually a really cool video that he's done, and it's a really catchy song. I'm going to link you guys to it in the description below so you can check out his channel, check out this song, because he explains how TalkBox works. Because he's playing a keyboard, we're going to be snapped directly over the lines. It's 440 Hz tuning, so it's going to be perfect the whole way through. And if this pitch monitoring software picked it all up, it would just be all dead on the lines. What I'm saying is that by using auto-tune, we're getting really close to just listening to a keyboard. Just to throw it out there as well, that Lorenz, when he's, and I hope that I'm pronouncing his name correctly, when he's recorded this, he's not trying to make a really human sounding voice. He's still got a bit of phaser on the synth sound that he's using on his keyboard. So he's not trying to make it sound really human. He's just showing you how to use the effect. A lot of people in the comment section years ago let me know about Milli Vanilli, and these were, I think, 2 guys that I didn't know about before, and it turned out that they couldn't sing themselves. They had people in the studio who were singing, pretending to be their voice. They would then mime along to the performances, and there was a whole outrage because they found out, oh, they can't even sing, it's somebody else's voice. So fast forward however many years, I don't know how many years that was, probably in the 80s, considering that it was before auto-tune. Auto-tune was 1997. But fast forward to now, where you can use auto-tune. Would people have been happy if Milli Vanilli, to get their name right, used auto-tune so they couldn't really sing, but the technology was making their voice on pitch? Or if they were so far out of range and pitch of where they should have been, would people have been happy if somebody backstage was playing a keyboard and they were effectively doing a TalkBox type approach to it, if that technology existed? Because that seems to be where we're headed at the moment. And I'm sure there's going to be stuff, and there might already be things that can effectively TalkBox your voice without having the tube in your mouth. And I'm pretty sure that if I don't use all of this stuff, but if I did dive into it, there'll be something available in order to achieve that. So would people be happy if on stage all they were doing was making a noise into the microphone, even just going when they should have been singing, and that is then put through a keyboard, and therefore now it's in tune, it's being snapped to the notes because the keyboard player backstage is playing the melody on the keyboard. Would people be happy with that? Because then you could say, well, at least the Milli Vanilli guys are making a noise. Yet where do you draw the line at what you're going to accept as singing on stage? I know that a lot of people will say that autotune's just an effect and it's to be used artistically, and that's absolutely fine, and I think that's fine as well. I think that people should know, though, on some level, whether it is autotune or not, because I know for a fact that a lot of people can't hear it, that they don't know. People might assume that, oh, you can obviously hear the autotune, but some people watching BTS, for example, might not know that it is heavily auto-tuned, and that's not what their voices actually sound like in real life if you were in that room. I think the problem essentially is that people might start to want to compare vocalists from now to vocalists that were around before auto-tune, and they might think that BTS in this performance never miss a note and they're perfect because they can't hear the auto-tune, and they might think that they were a better singer than somebody before 1997. But as I said earlier in this video, these are totally different universes. We're talking about people that used to sing with nothing live. They just did what I'm doing here, singing into a microphone, and you're comparing that with somebody who's making a noise. Hopefully they are relatively in tune. It's going into the auto-tune pedal effect, then going into the mic, and we're hearing what's then happening in the mic. And I know that isn't the actual effects chain that we're talking about. The noise goes into the mic, and then after that it happens, and then it comes out of the speakers. But just so people understand it a little bit more easily, we're not hearing what's coming out of their voice. It's going through the auto-tune first. So you can't compare that with somebody who does it without anything. And when they did perform, if it was slightly out of key, then it's out of key, and that's just the final result. And that is music. That's what it is. It's a human creation with your vocal cords, and vocal cords are not a machine. You can't program them, but you can program auto-tune, and that's why it sounds so different when you listen to a performance that is heavily auto-tuned. You can also throw in there the argument about inventions like this making it a lot easier for people who can't sing to sound good on recordings. So it's opening it up to a lot of people who might not have the patience to practice singing. They say, right, I just want to be able to sound good on a song. I haven't got an hour a day for 3 years to work at it. I just want to be able to do it. And you could even apply that to learning to ride a bike. I think everybody starts learning to ride a bike with stabilizers on. You have these two little wheels to stop you from falling over, which means that everyone can ride a bike because you're not going to fall over, even if you're a beginner. But then that raises the question, why don't we keep the stabilizers on all the time? Why do we take those off and then ride without those on the bike? Surely we should just keep them on because it's easier. So I guess that is an example of then learning to sing properly is without the stabilizers, so that it's now just you. You are trusting your own ability to be able to do this particular activity that you've chosen. This is where the problem comes in recently that we've been looking at on the channel with record labels auto-tuning great singers who were already great singers, and now they're auto-tuning them. So it's all gone a bit crazy. It's starting to get really similar because of the use of auto-tune being so heavy to using a keyboard and just having the sound being played in your mouth. So I know it sounds crazy, but that's unfortunately the similarities that we have in this particular video, but I'm hoping that it's just the case that everybody knows about the auto-tune with BTS and everyone accepts it, and it's just a pop thing. They are a pop band, I understand, so it might just be that production side of things and that it's just used all the time on every single one of their songs, and therefore they're using it all the time live, and certainly in all of the songs that I saw here, and that's absolutely fine. But I look at all of the requests, so thank you for the request to take a look at this one. As always, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Keep those requests and suggestions coming in that comment section as well. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!